right, so we have another year of Feb-Brew-Ary.
The best month of the year.
Best month of the year, yeah.
It's my birthday month.
So, yeah.
It's the shortest month of the year.
It's Black History Month.
Absolutely.
Do they have Black History Month in the UK?
No.
Okay.
No. We import. We were.
You weren't as big in the slave trade.
No, we started the slave trade, but we moved.
But I think it discontinued a lot sooner.
Yeah, it's actually it's kind of interesting. Is it 1806? I think so. But I remember because like when you guys still had slavery in America, we had like Afro-Caribbean, I think was the term, doctors graduating from like universities and stuff. It was kind of...
Yeah. I mean, I think we technically had African Americans, or I guess Afro-Caribbeans to use your term. They were getting degrees too, but they were also just being...
It's so weird because
it was like 12 Years a Slave, where the guy was like a very well... he was an articulate guy, and then he went to the South, and then he got like sold into slavery.
It's so bizarre because I mean, no, you're absolutely right. I was reading books about it. It's like, you know, you had people like graduating from Harvard, who were from African descent, and then you had slavery still going on, and it's kind of
it's insane.
You know, we've literally launched into this video, and already we're off.
I know, it's like so weird. Okay,
so
we didn't even start drinking yet. All right.
I have a special treat for you today.
Yes.
I've mentioned this a couple of times. You know, I have a fondness for Belgian beer.
Yes.
For triples and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I got this fondness because my sister, one time, back when... I can't remember what I was doing. I was bumming around Europe like I normally do, and I went to England, and she took me to a place called Belgo's in London, which was a Belgian mussels and beer bar. Okay. And I had... This is called Delerium Tremens. This is my first introduction to Belgian beer. Delerium Tremens, I'm sure you are familiar with, having worked in the psychiatric field, is what you experience when you are detoxing from alcohol.
Yep.
And it's like delirium and tremors from that. This is pink elephant, which is of course what you are supposed to see when you...
Yeah.
And the reason for this is because this is a very strong beer.
Yes.
It is...
8.5.
And it's funny, because we're there like, back in England, we were like, oh my goodness, it's 8.5, that's like crazy. And it's like, you and I regularly drink American beer.
It's funny because the Untapped is an app that I use for tracking my beers, and everybody at my job, we talk about it, and 8.5 is considered middle of the road.
Yeah.
Like between 5 and 10 ABV is like middle of the road. So...
Because we had that Goose Island that was like 14%.
Oh yeah,
like
There's like
wine.
all these stouts are now like in the the 10 to 12 range, and they're like wines.
Because I used to be like, oh my goodness, this is amazing stuff, and it's like, actually, you know what, this is...
In defense, it's twice the ABV of Guinness. Guinness is only 4.2, I believe.
Sure. But
all right, well,
always
let's
like
give
this. So let's...
And you said it's from Belgium? Belgium? Belgium. Here. Christening a ship.
Don't worry about what I was doing there.
Okay.
Right, that was christening a ship.
Yeah. This smells amazing already.
Yeah, I mean, I love Belgian beer.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful bottle. I love the way they've got the...
And
it's very fizzy. If you notice, it's very fizzy.
Yeah, I was reading the bottle is that specific color. That way it hides what's inside. You're not sure.
So it's funny because you held it up to like... I would say this is a little hazy.
This is definitely a little hazy, yeah.
Yeah, but it's incredibly fizzy, much more so than I would have expected.
Right.
It's got a very lagery smell to it.
It's very clean.
Yeah.
That's pretty
good.
Funny.
I remember years ago I drank this and I was like, oh my goodness, this is like...
Yeah.
But now I'm like, I quite happily drink pints of this.
This isn't my personal, like this isn't my favorite style.
Yeah.
But this is good for the style that it's golden ale, right? That's so, yeah, I mean, I could... It's enjoyable, it's clean, it's refreshing. This is a good, I would say this is a good like summer beer. Like I could see drinking this...
Yeah.
Like late spring, early summer, getting like a barbecue.
I just find it so interesting. It's like the evolution of my drinking experience from this being like, oh my goodness, they're breaking out the Delerium Tremens to like, this is nothing, mate. We've been to Goose Island.
Yeah. Well, not literally, because Goose Island.
Sadly, we have not been to Goose Island, but
yeah. But this is good. I like this.
Yeah.
It's got very like, I hate to say like clean and crisp because that's the like Bud Light or something. But this is it is like that. This is like a very standard middle of the road. It's I think what was the beer we did where it was like this is a control beer. This is like a control beer to me.
Yeah, and I think I would agree because in terms of like triples and Belgian style beers, like I loved the Merry Monk that we had. Mm-hmm. Oh, and there was the one from Flying Fish. It was just it was just fantastic. And this is like, you can tell it's the same style, but this is very inoffensive.
This is such a great way to start off February, because it's just, I mean, it's inoffensive, and I think we're not starting off on a super high point. We're like, oh my god, this is amazing. And then we're gonna have to like slog through terrible beers, but we're also not starting off on a low point. We're like, oh god, we got 27 more days of this. Like this is a good point. We can go up, we can go down. I'm excited.
So do you have any beers in mind?
I was going to ask you the same thing.
Because I do.
Do you?
Yes.
Do you want to say them, or do you want to?
So I have always been partial, Yards of Philadelphia, to a bunch of beers based on recipes that the founding fathers gave. So they have Thomas Jefferson's Golden Ale.
Right.
They have George Washington's Porter, and they have an ale, I think, from Ben Franklin. So I was like, let's...
The Washington Porter would be a good one to try.
And I've never tried that one, so I'm
never tried
interested
that
to
one
see
either,
it. Yeah. So those are my three.
So something from the founding fathers.
Yep.
Okay. I hope the irony is lost on nobody that the Brit wanted to try beer from Revolutionary War era. I guess people. Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to doing some different beers because I think February we like to. Last year we really pushed the limits. We found some stuff that neither of us had tried.
But we also went in the other direction. We tried some real.
We tried some real ass beer.
Well.
Yeah, we tried some shite. To this day, that Russian beer is by far the worst beer I've ever and probably will ever have. That was horrific. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Like that's my hell would be having to drink only that.
That is the experience of many
That
Russians.
is, yeah. But I think I'm looking forward to trying some stouts, some porter, like just expanding the palate. There's no breweries that are really like popping out in my mind right now.
I find it very interesting when I'm writing my novels. Like my last novel was set in Washington State, and I was like, okay, they're going to drink some bourbon. So I looked up bourbons that are made in Washington State, and then
Are there any?
There is. There's one called
Okay.
J.P. Trodden, which looks really interesting. I'm going to get a bottle of that. But it was interesting because there's like this little town, which is a few miles north of Seattle, where they have tons of distilleries, tons of breweries. And I'm like, that's interesting. All the beers there that might be worth trying.
Okay, if we can get them. Also, feel free to comment. Like, if there's a beer where you're like, hey, you should try this, we're more than happy to do it. I've had a bunch of beers lately from Florida because my boss went to Florida for 2 weeks over Christmas, and he brought beer back for us, and we've been trying that. So I think some of those I gotta look back on the app and see if we can get one. There was one milk stout that was probably the best beer I've ever had, and that's saying something because I've had like 150 beers since November. Yeah, I mean, I think that would be a good one to sample. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, it's just in general, just generalizations of getting out there and trying some.
Well, February,
different stuff.
I'm set.
Let's do it.
Okay. Keep up with us. We are going to be drinking a lot, but
yeah. And I think we're going to end up taking February off in terms of doing episodes, and then we'll start releasing them again in March.
that sounds
Look
good.
out for that.
Buckle up, buckos. Get his designated driver.
Right. An actual designated. We'll explain that on the next video, if
Yeah.
we remember.